Yes, 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 guys, you read the caption right. How I raised my credit score literally like 55 points. So I'm not a credit expert. I like to go ahead and give that disclaimer so you guys don't think I'm trying to get comfortable, but I'm also trying not to be having my feet all in the camera to where you guys can't see me. I'm not a credit expert. You know what? I just gotta get comfortable. Anyhow, I'm not a credit expert, but I did transform my credit score. Literally, guys. Literally 55 points in one credit cycle. Now, the credit cycle in which I'm referring to is Credit Karma, and I've said this multiple times in person in some of my videos, and I just basically tell you guys that Credit Karma is not the most accurate site to see your scores. The most accurate site to see my scores, normally I look on the actual bureaus themselves. Well, I do know that my actual bureau scores went up just as much as Credit Karma. Now, there might be a slight differentiation in your score. Credit Karma might actually make your score appear higher than it actually is in the other bureaus, but whether it appears higher or it appears lower, the fact still holds true that I was able to raise my credit score 55 points in one credit cycle. Normally, a credit cycle is every month. So in 1 month, I raised my credit score 55 points. How did you do it is what you're asking. Let me tell you exactly what I did. Now, I'm still aiming to get my credit score in a better position. It's not bad, but it's not where I want it to be. So here's what I'm gonna tell you guys a backstory about my credit history. So I'm literally gonna go through years in seconds. Okay, so pretty much went off to college, got credit, started my credit by getting a credit card. Oh, get a student credit card, blase blase. Now, though you might grow up in either a good family household or a bad family household, I find true that even if you grow up in a good household, I feel like financial credit talks are not had. So you get to college and you open up a student credit card, never being told not to do it, never being told 30% of your credit balance should be what you use or less than that, or 10% or 0% ratio is really good utilization for each month, or don't do this, do that. That was not the case for me, okay? As I got older, I became more intrigued in business. Obviously, when you're in college and you're working your little side jobs and things like that, you don't always have the necessary money to pay off of those credit cards and things like that, and you might not even be as educated. But one thing holds true, two things for sure, is you will definitely learn some things if you have had to go through credit hiccups yourself, whether they be repos or you've gone through negative equity in a car being upside down is what they call it, where the car might be worth $5,000 but you are paying actively $15,000 for a car. Negative equity upside down. Whatever the case may be, if you were not financially literate, and financial literacy was not a thing that you learned growing up, then you're bound or were bound at one point to run into credit hiccups where you've ruined your credit, you messed up your credit, you didn't know how to repair, or you just didn't care to pay it back, or you just couldn't afford to pay it back. Whatever the circumstances are, you probably ran through it. Nowadays, we have children who parents are becoming more literate when it comes to financial literacy. There are other parents who were already hit back in the day and decided to put their kids on, whether they got them a credit card young or they just taught them the essence of credit card, or maybe they even paid and did everything for their child to where their child doesn't even understand what ruining credit is, because they were always coddled and it was either taken care of for them or their parents just would not allow them to be in debt for whatever reason. If that was not your situation, then you probably were like me, got into the credit world, had to figured it out, messed it up, tried to get it back, and started to realize the dings that hit your credit. So during that college time, I remember I got that credit card. I did not know about 30%. I did not know about all that. All I knew is you just trusted me with a credit card limit that was $1,800 or almost $2,000, and I had bills to pay. So I was going to pay my bills with that card you just gave me. Never really understanding how to use that credit each month, and never really looking at my credit report often to know that it was negatively affecting me because I was a student, because I was working, because I was doing these things, and I had not become I was already an adult, I would say, because I think an adult is when you start to have responsibilities. That's what adulting is. People think just because you're 18 that you're grown. You are not. If you don't pay a single bill, if you do not manage your own stuff, if you don't pay your rent, you don't have your car bills, you don't do insurance, if you have no bills and you're 18, you are not grown. You are just 18. There's people who are in their 30s and 40s who are still not grown because they have no responsibility. So for me, I was already in the grown realm, even though I was a student, and I was, advanced in the point, in the aspect of I was always mature for my age, but it does not mean that I didn't lack knowledge of certain things. So once I became hip on credit, I felt like it's like, okay, I know I ding this up, ding that up, but at that moment it was always like that cat and mouse. I gotta pay bills, I don't have enough to put to credit, I haven't even budget planned, I haven't financially planned to try to figure out how I'm gonna pay my credit. And then when I got to a point where I did financially plan for credit, it was always like, I'm not gonna pay my credit or pay the current bill for my car insurance. So it was always like that, pick between one or the other. So then I got to a place where I knew that I needed to fix my credit, and I started to make the slow strides. But I was not educated enough to understand how do you make your credit score go up? What is utilization ratio? How is utilization ratio changed when you have multiple cards opposed to one card? If I cancel this card, how does that affect my utilization rate? Does that affect me for my average age of my credit? Is it going to affect me? Is it not going to affect me? If I close the card, like, what is it going to do for me? My camera's trying to die, so I didn't understand. I started to gradually understand things over time because I was passionate about it and I wanted to learn about it. And it was just that within me that wanted to know. So I figured it out and I started to, gradually start to pay off things. And some things I'd never paid off just because I began to understand statute of limitation. Which brings me to the next point. Statute of limitation, and I know this video might be all over the place, but I hope it is actually helpful by the end. But statute of limitation is basically when a certain period of time for either a debt or for a crime or for anything, because you might be thinking, oh, statute of limitation, I heard of that in criminal justice. Yes, but it also applies to credit as well. Statute of limitation basically is the period in time in which a person could be held responsible for either a debt or for a crime or for whatever. So within my statute of limitation on most statute of limitations on most of your debt is 7 years. It could be 10 years. It could be 7 to 10 years that you might actually experience that. If it is 7 years, then a lot of times you just look at the estimated time of removal off of your actual credit bureaus. So off of Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, it might give you on your report the expected time in which it should fall off of your credit. For me, if I was getting up on 1 year, 2 year, then I was like, I'm not paying the debt, because if I pay the debt, I feel like it's going to restart over the debt. That's just my mind. And I'm not sure if that's what happens if you're a credit expert, but I just felt like it's going to restart the time. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to settle it. I'm not going to pay it. These debts are being sold off to other companies. Why would I do that? It's just going to start my time over. So there were debts, and there are debts that I decided to let hit 7 years because I might be in the 7th year, or I'm in 6 years right now and I want it to fall off on year 7. Or a debt that I feel like, why is this on my credit? I don't owe this. It's on my credit. I've disputed it. They still won't get rid of it. If I don't believe I owe it and I feel like it's like not being disputed, then I don't pay it. Now, obviously, if you have goals and you say, oh, I want to buy a house, I need to do this, you might have to just suck it up and pay it because you actually have a goal. But if you can afford to allow that to fall off of your credit and focus on other things, do that. So how did I get the score up to 55 points? What I did strictly for the 55-point jump is utilization ratio. Your utilization of your credit cards and your credit history. So credit payment, credit history. One is 30%, one is 35%. That's 75%. If you can make your credit card payments and your payments on time, your loans, everything on time, and you can make sure that you pay them down, you have increased 75% of your credit. So for me, the goal was pay utilization down. If I pay all my utilization limit if I pay my utilization ratio down to 0% on all of my credit cards or on my different accounts, then I will I'm definitely going to shoot up, because at that point I'm not carrying over balances on my credit. So the strategy was pay the utilization down to 0% by the time it actually reports on the credit. Now, if you have bills and you're like leveraging, because there are times where I leveraged money, I literally would say, okay, I don't even have money to put to credit right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay all the credit things. And if I have to use the credit cards, I will use the credit cards to pay this bill, pay that bill. Because ultimately, it is like, well, why take money from here to pay this when you could just not take it from here and don't pay this? Well, the reason being is if you have healthy money here and you put it over here to the credit, it's going to drop your utilization ratio, which is really good and can boost your score, but it's also going to give you that money back on the card. Obviously, you don't want to get in the habit of maxing out the cards again, but if you need them, use them. But that's the strategy that I used. If you feel like I don't have the extra money on the side to do this, then just take the money, put it where you need to put it, and whenever you need to use those funds that you just put, just use it again. Obviously, you got cashback options. You'll probably be hit with a cash advance fee, but there's options, and you want to put yourself in the best situation. And as time keep going on and you're making more money, then you want to slowly stop using those credit cards until you can get to a place where I'm only paying gas and paying it back, or I'm not using the card for 3 months and then I'm going to use it again, until you can get back financially responsible. Do it that way. So I paid down my utilization ratios, brought them down, right? So my next thing that I did is I increased a card. I had a limit on a card for $250. I've had it on there for 3 years. I decided to up my secured card limit to $1,000. So I increased it $750. Being that I increased my ratio, my utilization, now I look like I have more money that I'm allowed to have that I'm not using, which makes me look less risky, more responsible. So I upped a credit card balance. It hits your credit, it dings you for upping your balance, but then it also helps you on your credit as well. So I upped the utilization ratio, and then I added new accounts. So when you add new age credit, basically that's about 10% of your credit report, right? So I added a new credit builder account, and I added what's the thing called, a line of credit, and I've added like 3 new things to my credit to introduce new and healthy credit. Because if you have bad credit, or you had credit that fell off from the past that you no longer have, then it almost makes your credit look new again, and it doesn't look like you have a healthy mix if you don't have a healthy mix. So what I decided to do is I'm starting to redo some things on my credit, because I know that some things are closed out, they're falling off. That age that came with those accounts that are falling off was helping my credit report. So in order to introduce healthy credit, you want to make sure you're maintaining what you already had, that age, and then the new credit is going to also just boost you up. So the moral of the story is, and I know this video went long, but to get 55 points up, I dropped all my credit ratios. Like, I dropped all my credit card balance to 0%. So when it reported, it was under 10%, which 0 to 10% is a really, really good rate utilization ratio. So I dropped all my credit cards to 0%. I increased a credit card, which gave me a higher utilization ability. I added 3 new credit accounts, a builder, increased the utilization, and added a line of credit. And I literally have a few inquiries that are going to be falling off soon, so that's probably going to help my credit. And then I have negotiated with some debt collectors to actually remove the debt from the credit. So you have to definitely, don't just pay something, negotiate and find out, if I pay X, Y, and Z, are you going to remove this from my credit? If you're not going to remove this from my credit, then what are the options? And think about, should you pay it, or should you check to see what the statute of limitation is and let it fall off? So I definitely would say those are 3 pertinent things that I did. Dropping credit cards to 0, adding 3 new credit lines, and also making sure that I negotiated with creditors for removals. So I literally have something on my credit that I've negotiated. If I pay that balance, they're going to remove it. They have agreed to do so. Once they remove that, my score has the ability to jump 23 to 25 points by just paying that off and getting it removed. Then I have something that was affecting my balance, which I didn't even know that it was going on my credit. I didn't even know it was allowed to go on my credit. And I have been trying to negotiate with them. And before I can even negotiate with them, they put it on my credit. So I was super ticked. I've negotiated with them. We're about 50% that other company is willing to remove, but I'm not 100% sure that they will. So obviously when I get ready to take care of that account, I'm going to find out what my options are. If they remove it, awesome. I will be the happiest camper because it has a high impact. That's one thing you should know. The newer debts are, when they hit your credit, the higher the impact. As its time has gone on, they will begin to fade away. Again, I'm not a credit expert. I'm just telling you what I've experienced and what I feel like I learned over time through my own instances. So basically, I definitely want to get those two removed. Once I get those two removed and I keep my utilization to 0, it's going to be crazy because I probably will jump 100 credit, like in total, over 100 points on my credit by just doing that within 2 months. So I've been financially focused. I've been financially budgeting, financial literacy. All of that stuff has been on my top of mind forefront. A lot of people have been wanting to do things, go places, and I can't. Like, honestly, if you're going to be the best version of yourself, you're going to have to say no to a lot of things. So that's what I had to do. I had to say, no, I'm not allowed to do this. Blase. It's not to be, like an a-hole, but it's just I have to focus on me. I have to be the better version of me. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to separate so I can elevate. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you ask any questions you have in the comment section below. Again, I am not a credit expert, but I am a realtor. So if you guys want to purchase a home or buy, sell, or invest in any state, just reach out to me and I will be more than happy to assist you. If you guys want to keep up with my life, then just check out the link in the description box. Well, not even the link, the information in the description box that will lead you to the pages that will be associated with myself. And I will see you beautiful people in the next video, and later.
It's only 11 something, but why does it feel like it's 2 something?